So this is my Shaddoll Polymerization deck, or Shaddoll Polymerization lock deck, whichever way you call it. It was hard to technically give this deck a name. Because it's basically, just a Shaddoll deck, so to speak, with some interesting tech choices, right? I have extra polymerization. I have polymerization, which is like having extra Shaddoll fusion, so I have 6 cards in the deck that I can use to fuse. So it's a lot of monsters in the deck are spellcasters, as well as Shaddoll window. I use Secret Village to lock my opponent's spells out, to lock him from playing spells, and Royal Decree to shut down his traps. Spell Shines for in case he already has spells on the field, and also to take care of pendulum monsters in the pendulum zone. I allows to take care of any face-up continuous trap, even face-down cards. And I get mills, so I can activate the Shaddoll's effects. Exodio, so I can recycle all the stuff that I send to the graveyard that are monsters, of course, including your extra deck, so you can reuse the stuff over and over again for the long grind. I got Shaddoll Beast, 5-star, 2200 attacker, flip effect. You can draw 2 cards, then discard 1 card, and that part of the effect activates the Shaddoll's effects. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can draw 1 card. So it's like an Upstart Goblin. Shaddoll Dragon, 1900 attack. You can flip effect. You can target 1 card your opponent controls. Return the target to the hand. So it's pretty good. It doesn't destroy, so Stardust and cards like that can't stop that effect. And some monsters can't be destroyed, or some cards can't be destroyed, so this is like a wing blast, right? Or compulse for any card. His send effect is if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target 1 spell trap card on the field and destroy that target. MST. Shaddoll Lizard, 1800 attack. Flip effect. You can target 1 monster on the field, destroy that target. So it's a man-eater bug, or a snow man-eater, whichever one you want to refer to. If this if this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect, you can send 1 Shaddoll card from your deck to the graveyard. You can send a Shaddoll monster, of course, or Shaddoll fusion itself. This is mainly how you thin your deck out. You send 1 of him and send any of your Shaddoll monsters to activate their effects. So you'll thin your deck out by 2 cards for the price of 1, right? Shaddoll Hedgehog, 800 attack. Flip effect. You can add 1 Shaddoll spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. Your target will be Shaddoll Fusion, of course. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can add 1 Shaddoll monster from your deck to your hand. Obviously, this is your Rhoda, your reinforcement army, right? This is your search card. This will let you either search out your spell if you flip it, or if you send it to the grave, search out 1 of your monsters. A typical combo would be have Shaddoll Lizard go graveyard by a card effect, send Shaddoll Hedgehog, and then you can add any of the other Shaddoll monsters from your deck to your hand. I typically like to add a Shaddoll Lizard, especially if I already sent a Shaddoll Dragon or Beast or any other monster along with Lizard. I use Lizard effect to send Hedgehog. I use Hedgehog effect to add another Lizard. So I could keep the thinning out, and right there, that's 3 monsters out your deck, because, you know what I mean? Especially if you send Shaddoll Lizard from your deck to the graveyard, and then you send Hedgehog from your deck to the graveyard, then you add a Shaddoll Lizard from your deck to your hand. That's 3 monsters out your deck. So it's all good about that deck thinning, so you can get to all your spells and traps. To help you get the field spell faster, Planet Pathfinder. Plus he's an earth type, you can use him so you can create Shikanaga or Elemental Hero Gaia. So That's what he's there for. Since you typically don't use your normal summon that much. I mean, you use it, but not that much. You know, it's okay if you summon him, tribute, get the field spell, and then start fusing and all the good stuff. So instead of playing a spell card, I use a monster for that because he plays. He pulls double duty, and plus he has 1,000 attack. And let's say you have a level 4 already, you can summon him, exceed, right? All that good stuff. Then we have Elemental Hero Pageman because he lets you rota the polymerization, just like Hedgehog. When he flips, he can rota the Shaddoll fusion. So this is more ways of getting to your main cards so you can do what you do. Whether he's normal or special, you get that ability of getting polymerization. Also, he's fire, so you can use him to create a Gristle or Nova. And obviously he's a hero, so he can be used with any of the other elements in the deck, and including in the extra deck, to create Shining, Gaia, Escudario, Nova, Lila, Iceborn Sorceress. She's your MST, plus she's your main deck light type to create Shaddoll Construct, and she lets you know 2 cards during the end phase to activate the Shaddoll monster's effects. YUGIOH lets you recycle everything, of course, I've said before. Plus it's a 10-star, you get 2 YUGIOHs on the field, you can go into Gustav Max. YUGIOH is a spellcaster, so he'll work with Secret Village. There's a dark, obviously, so you can use him to make Winda with one of the Shaddolls. Spell Shattering, I already said, that's for pendulum monsters mainly, but also can work against other stuff. Plus it deals damage. If your opponent doesn't play a lot of face-up spells to stay face-up, he just plays stuff like MST, Upstart Duality, Soul Charge. He can use this against them and deal damage, so it becomes like a burn card. So it pulls double duty. Either you get rid of back roll with it, or you just chain it just to deal your opponent damage. And it's pretty good if your opponent plays a card, plays a spell, chains a spell, and then you play this. You could deal him 1,000 damage. You know what I mean? Just for the heck of it, just by chaining it. Even though you're not negating none of the effects, of course, you're dealing damage, which is good enough. You could just win duels with just that alone. Roll the Decree, of course, to shut down traps. Stuff like Shadow Imprison, Light Imprisoning, Vanity's Empty, and so forth and so forth and so forth. Knight's Assailant. Instead of using Foolish Barrel, I decided to use Knight's Assailant. Because one, it has a flip effect, it lets you destroy a monster. It also has, when this card sent directly from your hand to the graveyard, select one flip effect monster in your graveyard, except Knight's Assailant himself, and add it to the hand. So this is a way you can, re-add to your hand any of your Shaddoll monsters. And it's a 3-star, so you can use it with Hedgehog to make Zenmain Fire, so you can use it to make Nova or Gristle. It has the ability, of course, if it would be destroyed by battle card effect, detach material. During the end phase in which that effect was activated, pop 1 card on the field. And of course, we use that to get rid of back row. But if there is a monster we want to get rid of, we can use this to get rid of it. But typically it's for back row. Extra time, pretty much the same thing, just to get rid of back row. But if your opponent has monsters, get rid of them at the same time, right? Can't argue that. Plus it's a light for construct. Sky Blaster. Oh, of course you can also use it to make Shining. Sky Blaster, obviously, is kind of like a Wing Blast in a way for any face-up card. If you detach both materials, if you only detach one material, he lets you book a Moon monster. But if the monster is face up, it's better to just detach both materials, right? And he's a wind type, so you can use him to. Oh wait, I forgot. I don't have a monster you can use them to fuse with. Gustav Max. See, the extra deck is obviously a little tight. So I would have Big Tornado in this deck because he's awesome. Gustav Max, of course, detach a material, deal 2,000 points to the adversary opponent, and use a 3,000. You could attack the turn you use that effect. He's an Earth, you can use him for Gaia or for Shikanaga. Right. We got Shiny. Most of your elemental heroes won't be removed from play, or they would, since you just polymerizate to create them, they'll actually just be in the graveyard, and then you'll just recycle them. But a 2600, light fusion ain't that bad, especially when you can use it to make construct with Shaddoll fusion itself. So definitely not too bad. Elemental hero Gaia definitely has a good effect. You can use half the attack of a monster in opponent's side field and gain it as attack until end of turn. Plus he has 2600 defense, which is decent. Escridario, because obviously there's a lot of darks in the deck. He gets 100 for each elemental hero monster in your graveyard, which is useful when you have other hero fusions in the graveyard. He'll get a little bit stronger. He starts off at 25, ain't bad. By his effects, since you'll be using Blaze Man to create him with any of the Shaddoll monsters, he will be a 2600 when he hits the field. Plus he's in 8 star, right? That could be useful, right? Elemental hero Nova Master definitely has a good effect. He's 26 right off the bat, and he has the ability that he destroys monsters by battle. You could draw a card, and drawing cards is always good. So I definitely like making him a lot when I have the chance. Shikanaga, 10 star, which is awesome because it's useful with Exodios to make Gustav Max. He has 2600 attack, 3000 defense, which is pretty decent. It's an Earth machine. Thorn Eater Blaze, turn when a monster that was special summon activates his effect. You can have a Shaddoll card and if you have a Shaddoll card in your hand, you can negate the activation of that card monster's effect. If you do, destroy it, then send one Shaddoll card from your hand to the graveyard. And of course that activates the Shaddoll monster's effects. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one Shaddoll spell trap from your graveyard to your hand. Fusion will be your target. Shaddoll Egressel, Fire Rock, 2450 attack, 1950 defense. Interesting, right? When your opponent would special summon a monster or monsters, if you have a Shaddoll card in your hand, you can negate the summon, and if you do, destroy it, and then send one Shaddoll card from your hand from your hand to the graveyard. Basically, it's a Thunder King. It really works only for inherent summons. I've noticed when people like fuse or soul charge or call haunted or stuff like that, I can't use the effect, but when they inherently summon, like exceed, synchro, stuff like that, I can negate those. So it's like a Thunder King. If he's sent from the field to a graveyard, you can add a Shaddoll spell trap from your graveyard back to your hand. Shaddoll fusion will be the target for it, of course. Madrash. Card cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects. Neither player can special summon more than once per turn while this card is facing on the field. She's a spellcaster, so she works good with the Secret Village, Royal Decree combo, so that we can lock down your opponent's spells and traps and reduce him to one special summon per turn. So that could slow him down on exceed plays, synchro plays. Since you'll have Secret Village, that'll shut down any fusion play, any ritual play, pendulum play. Think of any other special summoning that can be done with a spell card. I mean, obviously you'll stop soul charge play. Enemy teleport, not enemy teleport, emergency teleport. But you get the idea. This combo will, Secret Village will mainly stop anything that can be a spell-related summoning, while Madrash will take care of any inherent special summonings. If you special summon Cyber Dragon, that's it. That's the only special summon you get in that turn. If you move Light and Dark, special summon BLS, then you got that. You got that. She's 2200, so if you special summon something stronger than her, then that's good. You just run her over, right? But typically, if you can't, then she will lock you down. If she's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add a Shaddoll spell trap from your graveyard to your hand. Shaddoll Fusion is a typical target. Shaddoll Construct. If this card is special summon, you can send one Shaddoll card from your deck to the graveyard. This is useful in the scenario if you Polymerizate to Creator. You use her effect to send Shaddoll Fusion from the deck to the graveyard. And if one of the materials was, Lizard, then you use Lizard to send whatever else you need to send to the graveyard and do all your other stuff. But typically you use it if you Polymerizate to Creator. You typically want to send Shaddoll Fusion, because once she gets sent from the field to the graveyard, you can get Shaddoll Fusion back, and that's very important, right? You don't want to just Polymerizate, have her on the field, and then when she gets defeated, you get nothing. You know what I mean? And then you're stuck waiting to get a Shaddoll Fusion or maybe another Polymerization or something. So it's like strategically to try to take advantage of her effect to make sure Shaddoll Fusion's in the graveyard. But if it's already in the grave, or you used it to send it to Creator, then send whatever else you want. Go crazy, right? So that's an awesome part of her effect. Then she has the effect that at the start of the damage step, if this card battles a special summon monster, destroy that monster. And of course, if this card is sent from the field graveyard, add a Shaddoll spell or trap card from the graveyard to your hand. Shaddoll Fusion is a typical target. And that's the end of the deck profile.